Welcome back to In the Can. One of the best things about In the Can is we get to talk with the folks who make many of the movies that premiere here at Sundance and then are launched to the world, but we get to talk about them first, we get to see many of them first, and we are so excited to bring you this movie that we're about to talk about, RBG, which is definitely one of the hottest topics here at Sundance. We have two directors, two women, which I love, Betsy West and Julie Cohen. Welcome.
Hi, great to be here.
Wendy.
Yes, we're so excited to have this movie. Really, lots of buzz about this movie. The timing is amazing. We've said that about several of the films that are here at Sundance. Tell me, how easy was it to get Justice Ginsburg to agree? You're shaking your head.
Not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. It was a slow process. It started about 3 years ago. We sent Justice Ginsburg a letter. We had both interviewed her before for other projects. We sent her a letter, and her answer was basically, not yet. And we took that as, well, not
no.
Not no, exactly. So then we were persistent, tried not to be annoying, but it was sort of a steady process to engage her, and we started filming about 18, 19 months ago. Here we are.
How much into her lives, how much behind the scenes at the Supreme Court were you able to get?
Well, we certainly have a lot of footage of showing Justice Ginsburg's life as one has never seen it before.
Yeah.
Of course, the Supreme Court is a very protective of its privacy institution, so it's not like you're running in cameras in the middle of Supreme Court arguments or anything like that, although arguments are audio taped, and we use quite a bit of audio tape in our film. But we've got footage of Justice Ginsburg, I think it's fair to say, as you've never seen her before.
Doing push-ups?
Including, yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing.
And
Including,
planks.
that was going to be like our grand finale, but yes, as you know, at home on vacation with her granddaughter, attending the opera, rehearsing and performing in an opera in a speaking role, and
her legendary workout routine, which we had heard about, didn't quite believe was going to be as intense as it turned out to be. She does push-ups, real push-ups, not the knee kind of lady push-ups, the real push-ups, and she does planks, half planks. She works with a medicine ball and weights. The real thing.
Does she have a six-pack? I'm sure that she does.
when we
didn't go that far.
She was wearing a sweatshirt that says Super Diva on it.
I
So
love
we did not see her abs beneath that, but we have no reason to believe they are not there.
So most of the visuals that people have of Justice Ginsburg are in her robe, in the Supreme Court, in the pictures with all the guys, the men justices. But you guys are going to show her to us in a very, very different light.
Yeah. Well, first of all, she's an incredible dresser. She has an amazing sense of style. Clearly, she likes fashion. And so you're going to see Justice Ginsburg outside of the black robe, and even when she's wearing the black robe, she and Sandra Day O'Connor initiated the tradition of wearing what they call a jabot, a collar, and she's very proud of her collar. She has a whole collection of them in her office, and she shows them to us.
Very, very nice. She has a lifetime, decades worth of changing American society. How do you encapsulate that into one movie?
Well, it wasn't easy because, as you say, there's a lot to Justice Ginsburg's story. I'm really glad that you bring that up and know it, because a lot of people that know her as the notorious RBG and know about the dissents that she's written in the past couple of years, that's how they think of her, this great Supreme Court justice. A lot of people, even the young women who are big fans of hers, don't know that Justice Ginsburg, as a young lawyer, basically argued the cases before the Supreme Court that secured equal rights for women under the law. That sounds like a kind of grand, big statement, but it's true.
She definitely opened the door.
Yes.
Actually, she propped the door open because she had the ability to do that.
She did. She had the legal ability to do it. And she herself had been the victim of discrimination. She graduated at the very top of her class at Columbia Law School after having attended Harvard, where she also was at the top of her class. And she gets out in 1959. She cannot get a job because law firms just openly said, hey, oh yeah, you sound good, but you're a woman and we have a policy, we just don't hire women, sorry. So.
And then again, this many years later, women are still fighting. The March for Women, Women's March was yesterday, amazingly well attended from coast to coast. I wonder, and did you talk to her about real change that she's made? Does she feel that she has changed things a lot? It seems like in many ways we're in the same place.
You know, we didn't ask that question in exactly those words. From what we know of Justice Ginsburg's position and her sort of lifelong philosophy about pushing for change, I think she would say that a great deal of change has been achieved, but we still have a ways to go. Actually, as I'm saying that, I do recall her saying that.
In those exact words.
We do have a ways to go. So, but her strategy for dealing with the obstacles and challenges in all walks of life, but particularly what women face in so many contexts, is keep pushing, one incremental, she would call it, like one step at a time. Even if you can't change everything overnight, that doesn't mean you can't make big change and real change over a period of decades. Just like you got, sadly, you got to keep fighting. And the amazing thing about Justice Ginsburg is she has kept fighting.
And I love it. And recently she came out and had a list of folks that she wanted to continue to work for her. And things to keep happening, just as people are talking about her retiring potentially, hopefully not anytime soon.
Yes, she announced who her clerks were going to be, not only next year, but the year after. She didn't have to do that. Clearly, that seems to us a signal that she has every intention of going on. She is very capable. She has a steel trap memory. She corrected us a number of times when we would make slight misstatements about cases that had happened 45 years ago. She remembers all the names, all the clients, all the lawyers, all the issues, the language. She is sharp.
Were you able, or are you able to boil it down to this is the point, this is what we wanted to say about Justice Ginsburg, and this is what we said, or was it much more wide-ranging than that in your film?
Well, I think what we wanted to say was that the hoopla and the hype that has surrounded her over the past few years is really justified. That she literally changed the world for American women, and telling the story of how that happened, you know, not just as a great lawyer, which she is, but as someone who had personally experienced a lot of this stuff, and kind of showing how that connects to the notorious RBG persona that people are familiar with today. We were also kind of fascinated by this whole phenomenon of people thinking that this 84-year-old, like, tiny little grandmother who, you know, in addition to that, has survived 2 serious bouts of cancer, how people, you know, just are loving and worshiping her as a rock star. We thought it was cool and interesting, and we wanted to explore it.
The other thing I'd say is we really wanted to tell what we discovered to be an amazing love story. We have great home movie footage of the young and beautiful Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she was at Cornell University, met her husband, Marty Ginsburg, who by all accounts was the perfect husband and way ahead of his time. He was a very successful tax lawyer, but when her career really took off after bringing these cases and being involved in the gender equality issue, she was appointed as a judge. His career kind of went on the back burner a little bit, and he really supported his wife in a way that many husbands didn't. It's quite a love story.
It's fantastic stuff. You know what's interesting is that she was only the second woman, and there have only been 4 on the Supreme Court. Did she talk about that at all? I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she has a great line when people ask her how many women do you think the right number of women would be on the Supreme Court, and her answer is 9, and that always gets a laugh as if it were a joke. And she's like, well, why not? For, you know, many years there were 9 men, and everyone thought that was acceptable. Like, why not 9 women? It's not the way that generally we think about, you know, even as a possible future in our society. But, you know, I think her thought is why should there be a quota or a limit on the number of women who can serve in the highest echelons of power in society?
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the love story a little bit. Marty, her husband, died 2009, is that right?
2010.
Yeah, and in such a public role, how she was able to deal with grief over that and continue to do the amazing work that she has done.
Yeah, we were actually talking to Nina Totenberg, the NPR correspondent, who's a longtime friend of Justice Ginsburg, and just she was talking just last night about how steely she was in dealing with this grief. She was profoundly affected, but she said, look, I had the most wonderful marriage. I feel very lucky. She read a decision in the court the day after Marty died, and she has, you know, relaunched herself in a life without him, even though she really did depend on him, especially for the cooking. The guy was an amazing chef and cooked for her. Now her daughter cooks for her. Daughter is a law professor in New York, cooks for her about once a month in New York and freezes it, brings it down, puts it in the freezer for her mother, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is, by all accounts, everybody agrees, a horrible cook.
All the other things she can do, that is the one thing, because you can't do everything.
You can't do everything, and the kids just say, you know, his daughter says, I was 14 before I ever met a live vegetable.
So funny. Now, has she seen the movie? Did she want to give you input? Did she want to help with editing, anything like that?
No, Justice Ginsburg really, you know, once she agreed to be part of this project, I think she really trusted us to do our job, and actually didn't request to see the film. The one thing that she did do was occasionally make suggestions about elements of her life that she thought would be important for our story. Certain people, she was very close when she served as an appeals court judge in Washington with a judge named Harry Edwards, who we were familiar with but didn't know that they had worked so closely together. And she said, you know, I think he would be a great interview. And he was fantastic.
He was great.
In fact, I'll tell some really funny stories about her. So some real highlight moments in the film. It was actually also her suggestion that her daughter Clara, her granddaughter Clara, who at the time was just graduating from Harvard Law School herself, might be a fun interview subject. So we immediately called Clara and set up an interview, and in fact got some footage of the two of them together.
Okay, that kind of help is always welcome.
Right.
Yes.
Was it much, now both of you came from television news, was it much different putting together a documentary like this from daily television news that you did for so many years?
Well, it is different. Julie's been making documentary films.
I've been doing documentaries for a while.
For a while, and I have also been involved in documentary projects, so we've kind of moved away from that. I think the fundamentals of storytelling remain the same, and we both love great stories, and we like telling them in a way that is, you know, we hope, insightful and entertaining, and you know, takes you to another level.
And longer than 5 minutes?
Longer than
We
5.
both actually, even in TV news, did sort of long form stuff.
Yeah.
And my overall answer is actually, I think television news and documentaries and the process of putting those stories together are much more similar than people realize. Not the expectation is that's just a completely different process. People are shocked when you're able to put a documentary together in a year or so, but they think nothing of the fact that someone can create an hour TV news special in a day. It's just like, well, yeah, it's
How long did it take to put together? And there was a lot of material.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we said it was about 18 months from the time we started shooting, and we actually didn't get the interview with Justice Ginsburg until last July, so we were editing already. We started editing in March of this year. We were editing, and then we did the big interview with Justice Ginsburg. We've been filming with her and getting a lot of scenes with her. That actually helped because it allowed us to shape the story, and by the time we interviewed her, we really knew the areas where we wanted to bore in a bit. So
and she's
that
coming,
worked
right?
out.
She's coming to see the movie? Or you don't really know? Or you can't really say?
We will neither confirm nor deny.
Right.
Well,
It's as far as you need
we'll
to
say
go.
that Justice Ginsburg is here in Park City to do a talkback cinema cafe conversation with Nina Totenberg today. So
and the movie just happens to be premiering
this
today.
evening.
Yes.
What a coincidence.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Wendy, you really catch on quickly.
I was a reporter for many years. I can make those connections.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on the
Thank
film.
you.
Looking forward to it. So many people are so excited that you have done this.
We're excited too.
Yeah, we are.
And really looking forward to learning things about this. woman that maybe many of us know in one dimension, and seeing all the rest of the many dimensions that she has.
Thank you so
We
much.
can't wait for people to
Yeah,
get to know her
we're
more.
Very
Yes.
excited.
RBG,
Yeah.
congratulations, can't wait to see it.
Okay. Thanks.
And we will be right back.